A0C. Love starting the show with A0C. Go, A0C.
See, my favorite big booty Latina. I love you, AOC. You're my favorite. She wants to kill babies, but she's still beautiful. You look very beautiful in that dress. You look very sexy. Look at that booty on AOC. That's my favorite big booty Latina.
I want you to do a little selfie.
I love it. My favorite AOC. Nice to meet you, AOC. Look how sexy she looks in that dress. Woo, I love it, AOC. Hot, hot, hot like a tamale.
Oh, goodness. I'm sorry. A0C and Alex Stein, friends, starting the show today. Welcome to GAMcast for July 14th, 2022. It is a beautiful sunny day in Atlanta. I hope you have great weather where you're going. We got a lot to get to because it, again, is another slow news day. We're going to talk about AOC, how this incident you just heard is so indicative of the entire Democrat Party. We're going to talk about one other thing that Biden has announced that is all a hoax. As per usual, $1.5 billion to Mexico is a hoax. We'll tell you why. We're going to cover Gavin Newsom's new gun law. Again, a complete hoax, but also a perfect diagram of how Democrats have this feedback loop. We haven't talked about the feedback loop in a while, but we're going to show you and walk you through exactly what this gun law is about and exactly why in about a year and a half you're going to be hearing about the gun law that Gavin Newsom just passed. But when the Supreme Court does something, I'm going to show you how they do this. We're going to get to Ray Epps, the January 6th committee, and a bunch of other things if we can. We shall see. Anyway, let's start off with, as we said there, A0C. Now, folks, this little incident you just heard is a perfect personification of the modern Democrat Party, all right? And I hate to pick on the Democrat Party because I used to vote for the Democrat Party. I used to think while I didn't agree with all of the policy positions of the Democrat Party, in a lot of ways they were better than the Republican Party. That's why in 1988 I voted for the Republicans. And then I didn't vote again for the Republicans in 2012, right? So there was a good number of years there. I didn't think either party was particularly well, and I had, feet in both camps to some extent. Libertarians always do, or at least we used to. Now there's no place for us to go. I mean, I remember, for example, well, I don't want to get into a libertarian conversation. I got to get back to watching the Open Championship. As you know, I'm an avid golfer, so. And also got to get back to my regular work. I got a few things I got to get out. Anyway, so getting back to this, that you just heard that. I'm going to play it again. It's 24 seconds. It won't take long. I'm going to play it again. But if those of you who are listening to the podcast, you basically got the gist of it. But I want you to know one other thing you can't see, which is why the YouTube is better. She's wearing a flipping mask. Okay, number one. And number two, originally she comes over and goes, let's do a selfie. Now, when you listen to it again, you'll be able to hear it. But I want you to know she purposely, with her masks, walks over. She seems, I can't tell if she seems a little ambivalent. I'm not sure if she's irritated or she's like, hey, what is it? Mark Twain said, the only thing worse than being talked about is not being talked about, right? So I think she may have this idea of like, well, it's a fan. I don't like him talking about my booty, but hey, right? I don't think she has any idea who this guy is. Mark Stein is a pretty famous social media influencer out there, and this is all obviously a stunt for him. But she, again, just to prove she's coming over, she says, let's get a selfie. She puts the peace sign into the camera. So she's clearly willingly doing this. Anyway, take a listen again. I'm going to come back and break you down on exactly what happened afterwards, which proves that this person is in no way qualified to be in Congress, A, and then B, certainly not qualified to be the darling of the media and have like 15 million people following her on Twitter. But if you want to know why our politics are corrupt, and for those of you who have kids, you want to know the world they're going into and how bad it's going to be, this is a perfect Exhibit A personification. Take a listen again. This is Mark Stein. He's a comedian turned, he's gotten into politics, which is also part of the point I'm going to make in a moment. Anyway, here it is again.
My favorite big booty Latina. I love you, AOC. You're my favorite. She wants to kill babies, but she's still beautiful. You look very beautiful in that dress. You look very sexy. Look at that booty on AOC. That's my favorite big booty Latina.
I want you to do a little selfie.
I love it. My favorite AOC. Nice to meet you, AOC. Look how sexy she looks in that dress.
All right, now look, folks, I only gave you 20 seconds of it this time. Listen, is that rude behavior? Obviously. Is it inappropriate behavior? You got it. It's not the right thing to do. But he's obviously playing with her. He's obviously doing it as a stunt, okay? And part of the point here is that that's all AOC is. So don't go around being a stunt, not being a serious politician, and then complain about the fact that other people troll you for not being a serious politician. So I'm going to go a little bit out of order here with my threads. So come on, where is it? Yeah. So now I'm pulling up. If you're on Twitter or YouTube, you can see it. All right. So here's AOC from about a week ago about Kavanaugh. Poor guy. He left his souffle because he decided half the country should risk death if they have an ectopic pregnancy within their wrong state lines. It's all unfair to him. The least they could do is let him eat his cake. So, folks, AOC's got no ability to complain about trolling, especially when she supports trolling for other people. This is the kind of thing we need to get out of our politics, and I'm talking immediately. We got to get rid of it. Either it's going to be absolute chaos, which, by the way, that's what AOC wants. She is fine with the hypocrisy. She's fine with the chaos. She thrives on it. And so does Mark Stein. You know who gets screwed? You know who pays the bill? All of us, right? So there you go. Just proof. Again, folks, this is the kind of thing that 20, 25 years ago would have been drop the mic. Even the media, even the Times, even the Washington Post, the Alphabet networks, they all would have been like, yeah, I mean, hey, come on. I mean, come on. You were just saying about Kavanaugh. You couldn't get that's why we've got this corrupt system right now. But it gets worse than that, folks. So let's go back to the beginning. This is AOC, all right? All right, so she basically originally sent the tweet out, okay? Here's the video he posted of the incident. I was actually walking over to deck him because if no one will protect us, then I'll do it myself. But I needed to catch a vote more than a case today. Okay, let's see. Kavanaugh, he gets trolled. He leaves quietly out the back door of the Mortons. AOC, she gets trolled. She gets things said. Again, I admit it. It's rude. It's inappropriate. I was against it for Kavanaugh. I'm against it for her. People shouldn't say rude things. But I'm pretty sure you're sworn to uphold the Constitution. And last I checked, going over to deck somebody, that's called assault and battery on top of it, right? I mean, I don't know what she's thinking. And she literally tweeted this. Okay, so then later she tweets, I posted about a deeply disgusting incident that happened today on the Capitol steps, but took it down because it's clearly someone extremist seeking extremist fame. It's just a bummer to work in an institution that openly allowed this, but talking about it only invites more. Just really sad. I'm just going to leave that out there. She literally tweeted that out. I mean, it's like my mentor would say, you didn't just think it. Right? You wrote it down and then you gave it to people and shared it with them. I mean, think about that. I mean, if anybody who is looking for extremist fame, it's A0C. But it doesn't stop there, folks. Doesn't stop there. I wish it did, but it doesn't. And again, this is a member of Congress. You can find this over at the quartering, okay? Apparently that wasn't enough for OC. So then, literally, she tweeted this out. Now, this is just flabbergasting to me as a constitutionalist, as you know. But this guy followed me up to the Capitol saying, look at your juicy A, you Latina, and a bunch of other disgusting garbage in front of an officer who let him continue. If you were watching on the YouTubes, on the videos, on the Rumbles, you would have seen that there was an officer there. She was never in danger at any time. In fact, not only was she not in danger, right? She's going up the Capitol. He's talking about juicy this and juicy that. She turns, stops, pulls a 90-degree angle, walks 10 feet towards the guy, puts up the peace sign, and says, let's get a selfie. So she was never in any danger, nor did she feel in danger. We've already got her admitting, by the way. If you're in D.C., and you're a prosecutor and you're just basically looking to enforce the law, there's an admission of an assault right there. Now, I'd call Mark Stein. Call Mark Stein because maybe he might say, no, I never felt assaulted. Right, because, she's got a juicy booty, but, and I don't get assaulted by juicy booties. If they want to slap me or hit me, that's fine. Maybe that's his opinion. I don't know. But it looked like an assault to me. She didn't hit him, so it's not a battery, right? But anyway, why would the officer not let him continue? Last I checked, he has a First Amendment right to be a creep if he wants. And again, you're sworn to uphold the Constitution. Every other day, actually probably every day, she talks about Constitution this and Constitution that and attacks Republicans left and right. Now, folks, if you and your friends follow the mainstream media, you will never even hear of this. It will like it never happened, okay? And we understand the environment in which we work in, right? And a lot of people will be out there mocking AOC and trolling AOC and seeing how she got made a fool of and how she's a hypocrite and all this stuff. And those are reasonable points. But the bigger point of all this episode, folks, is that's where we are. That's where we're headed, okay? We're not headed off the cliff yet, but we can see the cliff in front of us, and we haven't bothered to take our foot off the gas, and we haven't bothered to depress the brake. We are headed crazy. You're right off the cliff here. This is exactly why. And again, I think Mark Stein's a funny guy. He is an extremist. I get it, and he's funny. But, AOC is Mark Stein just a little ahead of the grain and happens to be on the quote-unquote proper side. So, all right. That gets us to a hoax that's out there. So, breaking news, if you are following the mainstream media, you're probably hearing this all over the place. In fact, it was trending on Twitter this morning. All right. And this is the kind of thing that, again, would have taken me longer to figure out back before I started my journey on social media. But now it's just, I see so much stuff. I always read the left, but typically when I saw the left before I got on social media, I would see the New York Times, I would see the Washington Post, I would see the Alphabet Networks. I'd see, different shows on the weekends and things that would come up, right? But when you get on to social media and you start reading people like, if you're watching this on the YouTubes or the Rumbles or the other, wherever else we are, you can see this is Brian Tyler Cohn. He's one of these 30-somethings like AOC that's got a huge following, and they're all just complete hypocrites. Their system is no system at all. It's just flat leftism, communism. It leads to anarchy. Now, of course, it leads to anarchy where they eat cake and all of us just are peasants. And if we get food at all, we get very little of it. But he's out there. He's one of these people that just believes everything he's told. And when you see these people and you actually see that they believe it, right? I mean, before I knew about the Pelosi's and I knew about the Elizabeth Warrens and the people that know that they're, basically taking advantage of stupid people so they can get power and become rich. Now you see these people that they've created. They've had, Pelosi's been in charge now. She took over Congress in 2006. So she's been in a high-power position now for about 2 decades. And within the Democrat Party a little bit before that, within California. She wasn't quite a national figure at that point. But she's been in power now for a long time. You give me 20 years of being told I'm a god and listen to what I say, and I get to spout out nonsense to you and it's not critically ever pushed back on, you get people like Brian Tyler Cohn and AOC, okay? Anyway, so here's what the headline is and here's what the hoax is. Biden just got Mexico to pay $1.5 billion to secure the border with actual smart technology, not a dumb wall. Feels like the media should be talking more about this, okay? And here's the headline he's pushing out here from ABC News, okay? Again, on the Great American Mail, we always go to the left wing. We don't rely on right-wing sites to debunk this stuff because we can just easily debunk it from their own materials. The reason that their own materials are easily debunkable is because they hadn't been checked, and they hadn't at least been a check since Obama. Obama was 2006-07. He was running. He was elected in late 2008 and took office in 2009. So that's about 13, 14, 15 years of just basically the media just all in. It's all whatever you say, it's fine. So anyway, Mexico agreed to contribute $1.4 billion to improve infrastructure along the U.S.-Mexico border. The agreement came the same day President Joe Biden hosted Mexican President Angeles Manuel López Obrador, whatever, a lot of names there. What is with this thing with the names? Just come on, one name and another name and end it. If you're a woman and you want to keep your maiden name, I get it. We'll give you 3. Fine. But this George, Herbert, Walker, Reagan, Obama, Biden, Bush, give me a break. Anyway, sorry, he's Mexican. Maybe it's the thing they do. I don't know. But anyway, for an Oval Office meeting. Anyway, this is all over Twitter. And let me tell you, to break it down. Anybody can see this. First off, $1.5 billion is a pittance. It ain't going anywhere. Second of all, actual smart technology. Where are you going to talk like that? What does that even mean? All that means is if there's $1.5 billion and if Mexico is spending it, right, all they're going to do is make it easier for people to be processed so they can get into the USA earlier, okay? B, if they are spending $1.5 billion and it's only been pledged, so I doubt they'll spend it. I've fallen for this before about 35 years ago. I used to fall for it. Pledge my butt. I want to see it. And anyway, if it is pledged and if it is spent, we're going to send it to them. Not to mention, if I'm Mexico, I'm like, oh, $1.5 billion, so I can send a bunch of illegals over there so they can send $16 trillion back per year? Yeah, where do I sign up for that? Hell, I even give you the money. Here, there's a couple of suitcases over there of drug money. Just take it with you, Biden. I mean, give me a break, people. This is just pathetic. And the fact that this is our politics now. It's interesting, actually. I had this in the stack, and I just had to take it out. I may get to it later. We shall see. But we're already 14 minutes. It's so funny. We got so much to cover. I could literally go for hours. But anyway, Roy Teixeira's out there with another article. I think I mentioned a little bit of it yesterday. But he's out there because Teixeira, as you know, he's the identity politics guy that told the Democrats in the early 2000s, like, hey, if you guys just kind of keep it in the road and just play the long game. As America darkens, y'all are going to be home free. You're going to be back to the FDR days, right? You'll control Congress for 60 years and the presidency most of that time as well. And, but they couldn't help it. So he's even saying, hey, guys, ixnay on the social stuff, nay, because the Hispanics don't like it. You're starting to lose the Hispanics. If that ends up happening, Brian Tyler Cohen, all those guys, you can't build a wall fast enough, high enough, and impenetrable enough for the people if that starts to happen. But anyway, don't be fooled by the $1.5 billion for border security. It's all garbage. All right, now this is what I really wanted to talk about today. I'm probably going to get, and those of you who follow us on Substack, I am sorry we haven't done an article in about a month, but we just got a lot of things going on. But I'm probably going to do something on this, because this is the perfect personification. This is the perfect exhibit of the Democrat grift that they got going right now. And I'm so glad this has come up, because this is literally, we're seeing the infancy of it. Okay, maybe not even the infancy. I mean, maybe the fertilization of it, right? We haven't even gotten to infancy, right? And in a couple years, it'll be all grown up. But this is the beginning of the hoax. And I want you to listen to Gavin Newsom talking about this, and I'm going to show you full circle. It's going to take me about 3, 4, 5 minutes to do it. These will be 3 or 4, 5 minutes that you will value, okay? And when you see this, if you can see it when you're listening to it, God bless you. But if you can, I'm going to show you how just about everything they're talking about now starts this way, all right? It starts like this, all right? Here, take a listen to Gavin Newsom.
Well, it's well known that nearly every industry is held to account when their products cause harm or injury. Well, except one, the gun industry. The gun lobby, well, it spent millions and millions of dollars buying off politicians to shield themselves from any liability. Today, California is going to change that. They can no longer hide from the mass destruction that they have caused. I'll be signing a bill that will allow Californians to sue irresponsible gun manufacturers and distributors. If you've been hurt or a family member is a victim of gun violence, you can now go to court and hold the makers of these deadly weapons accountable. Our kids, families, and communities deserve to live without the worry of gun violence. And with Assemblymember Ting's bill, gun makers will finally be held to account for their role in this crisis.
All right, now before I get to breaking down and demonstrating to you how this works, I want to address one thing he said in there, which is obviously false. And anybody that has common sense knows it's false. And that is that they have some immunity. So let's first debunk that, and then come back and show you what they're pulling here. And they're doing it in slow motion. And again, of course, the media, greatest thing in the world. Yay, woo, let's get them, And I want you to understand how broad this is. If you are a victim of gun violence, you can sue the manufacturer of the gun. All right? Should be easily commonsensically debunked. But let's go ahead and debunk that one thing. He said the only industry that has immunity. Now, you hear this a lot from these Democrats, right? Now, here's a fact check. And again, on the Great American Mail, we use the left to debunk the left. This is NPR. Need I say more? All right. Fact check. Are gun makers, quote, totally free of liability for their behavior? This is from October 2015. This is how long they've been lying about this, folks. Again, a little bit of a smaller demonstration that they've been able to continue to say this nonsense for 7 years with a straight face. All right, it gets down. I'm going to scroll down. To see what she's getting at, you have to look back 10 years. All right, that would be 2005. Clinton is talking about a 2005 law called the Protection of Lawful Commerce in Arms Act, or PLCAA, a law she wants to repeal as part of her gun control proposals. Lawmakers passed that law in response to a spate of lawsuits that cities filed against the gun industry in the late 1990s and early 2000s. Those lawsuits often claimed gun makers or sellers were engaging in, quote, negligent marketing or creating a public nuisance, right? In response to these lawsuits, the NRA pushed the law, which passed in 2005 with support from both Republicans and Democrats. Then Senator Clinton voted against it. Her current Democrat opponent, Bernie Sanders, voted for it. Folks, I remember that law, and here's what was going on back then. Again, some of these cities were talking about, or states, we're going to have a law where you can sue for negligent marketing or public nuisance, right? We're basically just going to make up these lawsuits. Make up these lawsuits. You know what? We're going to pass the tort of catcalling. We're going to make it a tort that if you catcall somebody and you say, "Hey, AOC, my favorite juicy booty Latina," we're gonna make that a crime. And First Amendment, that's a tort now. And by the way, if you do that, you get sued for $10 million and go bankrupt. That's what they were doing. essentially, to the gun. They were just trying to end run the Constitution. And back then, this is why this is so critical, folks. So I wanted to share this with you. All right. What's so critical about this is back then, Democrats and Republicans were like, hey, come on, you can't do that. No, gun violence is a problem. We don't like it. But listen, I mean, you have a fundamental right to do it. And not to mention, if we start down this road, where does it end? If somebody gets hit with a car, do you sue the car manufacturer? Well, if it has a defect, of course. But if it was used in the proper manner, and it was the person who ran somebody over with it, that's not the car manufacturer's fault. And so that's the only thing he's talking about, right? Anyway, so let's get back to his point here. Now, here's how it starts. So don't worry, they're not immune. That's just all garbage. In other words, what happened was you started to come after them, and we shut you down. The same thing if you started to say, if you happen to die from eating lettuce, you can sue the lettuce company. Well, what? How do you know it was the lettuce? It doesn't matter. You can sue them, right? And so that's what, we moved to shut that down. It was bipartisan. Now, this is exactly what he's doing. Now, do you think any Democrats will be behind like Bernie was back then and said, hey, yeah, this is not a good idea. You can't go suing everybody. You're going to shut us down. I mean, it's just complete anarchy. Not to mention, there's a Constitution out there. Nope. You won't see it this time. And this is what they do. They artfully do this. They keep coming back. So they got shut down, right, in 2005. Right? Now, here they are 17, 18 years later, essentially redoing it. This is Gavin Newsom taking the playbook from back then and saying, hey, let's run this up the flagpole again. By now, our country's gone so far to the left. We've got so many uneducated people that don't understand. Forget about the Constitution, folks. You can't do this in socialist countries. Well, democratic socialist countries, right? You don't do this kind of thing. You can't sue somebody because you don't like the product they're making, which is exactly what it is. The product is being lawfully used. But here's where I want you to understand it's going to lead. This time, California, it's going to get through. It's not going to be held back. Eventually, it's going to get up to the Supreme Court. It may take next term, may take the term after that. I don't know. In the meantime, we may hear Smith & Wesson go bankrupt. We may hear Remington go bankrupt. Any other, I don't know which other, manufacturer, but whoever it is, they're all going to get sued. We're going to hear about it in the headlines. And by the way, you'll see some California judges let this go, even though they should go, hey, come on, Gavin. Even Democrats, come on. Newsom, this is a bridge too far. I mean, come on, we can't have commerce. This is not any kind of constitutional republic. You can't do this. No. The Supreme Court, mark my words, right, July 14th, 2022, the Supreme Court absolutely, this is about as dead as fried chicken as it gets on their desk. You probably get the three leftists, though. Three leftists say this is okay, which tells you how crazy they are. This is just crazy, right? But anyway, when it gets there, they will then say, hey, no, it's unconstitutional. You can't do that. You can't sue somebody because you don't like the product they make. If it's a legally produced product, which it is, and it's used in the proper manner, and it's not defective, you have no, again, don't misunderstand. If you go out and buy a rifle, right, and it's defective and it harms you, you can sue them. That doesn't count by that act. But anyway, mark my words, and then you will hear all the catcalls. You will hear, oh, the rogue Supreme Court, they're bringing their religion. You hear all the crazy stuff you heard about the other rulings with the FDA, with the CDC, with the eviction mandate. You'll hear the same crap with them. But this time you're getting to see it in its infancy or fertilization. I'm not sure which brings us to Ray Epps. Folks, who is Ray Epps? Well, let's start again with the hoax, okay? This is all the Democrats are now. Hoaxville. Everywhere you turn around, it's Hoaxville. So the January 6th committee is, screwing up fast and picking up speed. Yesterday, or day before yesterday, they had the worst hearing by far. They're scheduled to have a finale, which they're claiming it ain't going to be, by the way. They'll be coming back out. But they're going to have a finale in prime time next week, okay? And they don't have anything. They haven't had anything. What little they've had, they've screwed up. Yesterday, I gave you the Twitter employee who claimed about there was going to be blood in the street and he couldn't go to sleep and all this stuff and the computerized voice and all that. Then to be like, yeah, why would you play that given that a year and a half later, this guy ended up just saying the sky was falling? He's Chicken Little. Nobody got killed. None of that happened, right? Again, because they're not very smart. I didn't get a chance to play the Republican congressperson, where they also made a mistake. If you want to check that out, by the way, go to our YouTube channel. We did a short video, it's about 5 minutes yesterday, and you can basically that whole bit that I had to cover in about 90 seconds. I spent 5 minutes and went into a little more detail. You can check that out if you want. Anyway, so what else is going on with January 6th? Well, they have completely disregarded a lot of things, right? They've disregarded whether there was fraud in the election. They've given us no audit. They've not gone in and said, hey, we look at every single solitary vote, or you know what, we're not going to look at all, 150 million votes, which by the way, still staggering. You got a country of 330 million people. You got to assume only half of them are eligible to vote. So that's 165, and 151 of them voted. That doesn't sound right, but whatever, let that go. I don't want to get kicked off YouTube or whatever. But interestingly, they haven't gone and say, okay, well, I don't have time to do 151 million. Why don't we just do one state? Do a small state, or do a swing state, and then do, I don't know, pick 6 or 7 different congressional districts in those 6 states, and just show us every one of those. And they hadn't done that, right? They haven't explored whether there was any false flag operations, right? We know what a false flag is. A false flag is, for all intents and purposes, it looks genuine. It looks like there was a riot, right? But we don't know who led in. We don't know if all of the people who broke down the doors and did the violence, right, and encouraged people to do it, we don't know that those were people that were planted. We just don't know that. And that was one of the points I made about the GOP congressperson, is that what they wanted to hear from her, and what she said was, yeah, I told the president this is not a good idea because a bunch of people are here thinking we're going to overturn the election, and likely not, and they're not going to be happy. That's what the January 6th committee wanted her to say, wanted you to hear, which you did. But she started it with, this isn't a good idea because there's Antifa here, there's Black Lives Matter here. I mean, this could get, and of course, they weren't smart enough to cut that out. Well, one of the things that we've known about for a long time is this guy named Ray Epps. Yesterday, when I was working out, on the screen, I saw MSNBC or CNN, I can't remember. Anyway, one of them was saying that he's a victim, and then he's been a victim of a conspiracy theory. I almost fell off the treadmill. I was like, you got to be kidding me. Or not a treadmill, whatever it's called. Stairmaster. Where's Epps? Come on, where's my Epps? There he is. Anyway, here's Ray Epps, folks. I want you to take a listen. This is the guy they're talking about. This is a day before January 6th. It's January 5th. He's got a big red cap. He's in the middle of the crowd there. Listen to him.
Tomorrow, we need to go into the Capitol. Into the Capitol. What? No! Peacefully. Fed. Tomorrow, I don't even like to say it because
now you heard that, right? Hey, tomorrow we need to get into the Capitol. Into the Capitol. It was so egregious. The crowd. Fed. Here he is again. Later the same day.
We need to go. I'll say it. All right. We need to go in.
Shut the fuck up, Boomer.
To the Capitol.
Anyway, there's sorry about I didn't know that was in there. Anyway, that's Ray Epps, and of course, folks, that smacks of a false flag. Now, people have asked the federal government, is Ray Epps a Fed? Does he work for the Fed? Is he contracted with the Fed? Did he have anything to do with the Fed? I can't answer that. Now, folks, when you see that, and you know that, and I don't know that he was actually in the building. I don't know if he was or wasn't. I don't recall. It doesn't matter. The point is, he was there. He was getting people incited. He was telling people to do that kind of thing, right? Get into the Capitol, all that stuff. Folks, I don't care what anybody is having to say about that. It's not a conspiracy theory. It's a theory. And I've told people before, there is no conspiracy theory. This is a new thing. Conspiracy theory used to mean 20, 30 years ago was like crazy things like, last night I went to Mars and, we swung by Venus and, I drank green cocktails with Martians. It's kind of a conspiracy theory. We know that's probably not true, right? But now you can have literal theories about how things went down, like false flag theories, right? And this isn't just with January 6th. It's with Russia, Ukraine. It's with anything. And people just go, oh, it's a conspiracy theory. No, it's not. It's a theory. Now, if you don't like it and you want to label it, it doesn't make it so. But anyway, so a Trump backer's downfall as the target of January 6th conspiracy theory. Ray Epps became the unwitting face of an attempt by pro-Trump forces to promote the baseless idea that the that the FBI was behind the attack on the Capitol, right? Upon the winding country road, blah, 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 some of these long pieces. And for what? Lies. Mr. Epps asked the other day with a look of pained exhaustion, all of this just to be hell. Anyway, it goes through, and basically the whole design of this piece is that all these people they accuse, there's no evidence to it, there's no evidence for it. Yet, nowhere in this article, and I've read the whole thing, right, none of it debunks or proves without a doubt, other than these people just saying, hey, I didn't do anything, and this has been a nightmare. And this is what the New York Times gets away with. This is what it's designed to do, folks. And again, the reason it's designed to do that is because of the environment that we're in. We started with today with AOC, right? She is the victim of Mark Stein, even though she did a bunch of things that demonstrates that she acted inappropriately, right? And all of this is because there's no pushback of any kind on any of this stuff. I don't know what happened with Ray Epps. I absolutely think it ought to be investigated fully. And if I hear the New York Times or the Washington Post say that, a Trump backer's downfall as a target of a conspiracy theory and how he's a victim, I'd want to see a full track record. I want to see physical evidence. I want to see actual people demonstrating, records from the FBI, everything. I want to see his bank account. I want to see every single solid thing. And here's the funny thing. Not only does the article not have any evidence, believe me, folks, if the FBI really wanted to create a Fed and stick him in there, they would be able to produce legally, unfortunately, in this country, the type of evidence that would prove it, right? It's perfectly legal under some of these acts that they have going on there. But anyway, I just thought I'd bring that to your attention. I mean, this is, again, the whole of the infrastructure of communication in this country is corrupt. And so basically it's gotten to the point where pretty much anything the New York Times tells you, you can pretty be sure that the opposite is the truth, right? And so the example there with Ray Epps. Anyway, and what bothers me about all this stuff isn't so much that they're in the pocket of the media or the Democrat Party and that they're demagoguing and they're not being truthful to people. The thing that bothers me is that they don't even bother to try to be sophisticated about it. I mean, they got sophisticated people. They got talented people that could sit there and could produce some kind of, evidence to try and fool people, but they don't. So anyway, we're actually well ahead of schedule today. I'm very pleased about that. So anyway, I thought I'd bring this to your attention. And this is Mazie Crazy Hirono. And again, the media environment that Democrats operate under. And there's a couple things about this bit. Let me play it for you, and then I'm going to, obviously debunk it, which we usually do. And again, I say this all the time. They debunk themselves within a page, within a paragraph, often within the same sentence. This is one of those where she debunks herself within a sentence or two. It's obviously nonsense, which we can easily debunk. But I want you to listen to it, and I'll tell you, you probably can suspect this, but she's a hero on the left for saying this. Universally, she's a hero. Hero. And those of us that are sitting here going, it doesn't even make any sense, but okay, here's Mazie Hirono.
Originalism, the justices who take that approach go all the way back to our founding fathers and pretend that they know what our founding fathers meant when they drafted the Constitution. I use the word pretend because who the heck would know what our founding fathers meant? Is there any reference to AR-15 rifles in our
So anyway, let's go ahead and debunk it real quick. Is there any reference to AR-15 rifles in our Constitution? Is there any reference to abortion in our Constitution? Is there any reference to privacy in our Constitution? No, there isn't. So you don't have a point. Not even close to a point. Just stop and just rewind and try again. That's what you do in science. You put a theorem up there, and then you test it against existing data, and you go, oh, well, if a right signed in the Constitution, it doesn't exist. Oh, okay. That's good. That's good, Mazie Hirono says. All right. How about abortion? Oh, wait. No. And if you're smart, you go, okay, take that off, because obviously it doesn't work. But the left doesn't have to do that anymore because they never get tested. This passes for wisdom on there. And, let's back it up a minute. How are we supposed to know what the founders meant? Well, I'm looking at the document. If you're on the YouTube, here it is right here. I really do have a pocket constitution right there. There you go. You can see it. You can see it's tabbed and it's falling apart because I've been using it for a long time. So here we go. Here's the First Amendment to the United States. These were words that were written in the late 1700s, okay? Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof, or abridging the freedom of speech or of the press, or of the right of the people to peaceably to assemble and to petition the government for a redress of grievances. I'm pretty sure I know what they mean by that. I mean, I speak English just like they did. In fact, we speak the same version of English. One of the things I've been doing for a long time now is learning the history of the English language, and we're speaking about the third or fourth iteration of it. But they did too. Like, it's been the same generation since then. So I don't see anything confusing about that at all. So that doesn't stop originalism at all. Not to mention, if words don't have meaning and we can't figure out what words mean, then you can't even have a government or a society. But you see, folks, therein is exactly what Crazy Maisie wants. We call her Crazy Maisie for a reason, because she's literally crazy, right? She wants the anarchy. You know why? Because in the anarchy, they win, they control. They don't want this system where, no, you're going to have very limited power, and those that succeed, are going to get ahead. There's going to be a safety net for everybody. There's going to be a certain floor by which you can't go any lower. But then people that get ahead are going to they don't want that system. I mean, that system, people like Crazy Maisie, she'd be in the back of the bus, right? That's why she wants this system where she gets to be a senator and she gets to do whatever she wants, because nobody knows what words mean. Anyway, the reason I covered it is that was actually trending last couple days as something brilliant that somebody would say. And by the way, folks, again, it's like Neo in the Matrix is so easy. They hate originalism. And listen, folks, they're like children with their hand in the cookie jar, and you say, hey, you can't have that. Oh, you want me to starve? No, I don't want you to ruin your dinner, and it's not healthy for you, and that's your 5th cookie. We know what you're doing. We're not imbeciles. We know you don't want any restraint, and the Constitution is restraint. Anyway, last thing I wanted to cover here, and we are right on time here, a little early actually, which is good. And this was John Bolton. This actually happened a day or two ago on CNN. And so, again, the leftists, they're not journalists. I mean, the fact that Jake Tapper calls himself a journalist is laughable to me. But, he's one of these people that every so once in a while will slip up and actually practice pseudo-journalism, and people go, oh, well, Jake Tapper's not so bad, right? It's so funny. I mean, those people that are Republicans or on the conservative side or, constitutional side, we're like people that starve in the desert. And it's like that old Eddie Murphy joke, you give them a cracker and they just go crazy like it's the greatest thing they've ever had. And it's like, dude, it's a cracker. I mean, he does anything and people get excited. But here was him talking to John Bolton. John Bolton is a foreign policy hawk. I'm not a fan. I'm a libertarian, so I don't like anything that Bolton has to say. Bolton is also a guy who didn't get along with Trump, and so him and Trump don't get along. So I'm sure he's on Jake Tapper because he's going to attack Trump. Anyway, Tapper has to be wedded to the January 6th. It's a coup, it's a coup, it's a coup. Now, folks, it doesn't hold up because no matter if you take the Congress, there's no coup. Challenging certification isn't a coup. That's the whole process. It's happened before. I mean, the coup just doesn't work, right? They should give it up, but they can't. So here's an exchange, and I want to come back and talk about a couple things in this exchange that are really important that I, frankly, don't understand. But anyway, here's Jake Tapper talking to John Bolton. I think he was an ambassador of some kind under Trump, and he's a big foreign policy guy in Republican circles before Trump.
Fair, with all due respect, one doesn't have to be brilliant to attempt a coup.
So before he answers, folks, yes, you do. Now, if your point is you don't have to be brilliant to attempt a coup, and what happened was a bunch of people are sitting in a beer hall, and they decided to have a putsch. Oh, wait, that didn't work because that was kind of a somewhat sophisticated plan, the beer hall putsch of the Nazis in Germany. Let's see. Maybe if you're a bunch of people, have a bunch of weapons, and you go and literally try to overthrow the government. Yeah, okay, I get your point, Tapper. I get your point. You don't necessarily have to be brilliant. But the January 6th committee is not trying to prove that. They have spent 7 hearings. I've watched and live stream every single solitary one of them. And they go into excruciating detail about this person talked to that person and this person and that and this and this. And they got all these sophisticated things. Got all these 7 people sending false electors. And you know the drift. You know the story. Wait a minute. You can't have it both ways, Jake. And not to mention, why would you want to? If your point was he committed a coup, why have to go after and say you don't have to be bright? You know why? Because you're an imbecile, Tapper. And you can't chew gum and talk at the same time. But anyway, here's John Bolton's answer.
I disagree with that. As somebody who has helped plan coup d'etat, not here, but, other places, it takes a lot of work. And that's not what he...
Now, look, folks, yeah. You'd think Tapper would follow up on that. Again, as a libertarian, that makes my blood boil.
It was just stumbling around from one idea to another. Ultimately, he did unleash the rioters at the Capitol. As to that, there's no doubt. But not to overthrow the Constitution, to buy more time to throw the matter back to the states to try and redo the issue.
Now, Bolton is actually telling the truth. I've written several articles, greatamericanmail.substack.com. You can go to our YouTube page. You got a bunch of videos up on the same topic. It's not illegal. You may not like it. It may not be, what people like, but it is what it is, what he tried to do.
Don't believe that, you're going to overreact. And I think that's a real risk for the committee, which has done a lot of good work, mostly when the witnesses testify, not when the members are opining.
He's all in. He likes January 6th.
It is
Tapper can't
invariably the
take it.
case that when you go too far trying to prove your case, you undermine it. And I think you got to give credit to the intelligence of the American.
All right, anyway, so I just wanted you to hear that. Jake Tapper doesn't follow up with anything about the coup. Anyway, you're now all caught up to date, and if you like this live stream, I hope you tune back in tomorrow.